Welcome. Um, my name is Holly Cole. It is so nice to meet all of you. This is Globe Observer Connect. We have these events once a month, and it's really just a informal conversation, a chance for us to meet the community that uses Globe, particularly Globe Observer with audiences or just uses it at all. Let me open my participant list so I can say hi to everybody. This is a small group. Our evening sessions tend to be a little smaller, so I'm glad that we'll get to know all of you a little bit. So very informal. Um, just to kick us off, does everybody want to say hi and let us know where you're joining from?
Hello, I'm John Martinez calling from New Orleans. It's about 7:05
Yeah.
here and it's 98 degrees outside.
Oh, and 100% humidity, I'm sure.
It's not 100, but it's probably in the 80s.
That sounds really uncomfortable. I won't complain about my temperature.
We've had consecutive days of 100 degrees and it's not expected to let up next week. So unusually long,
Mm-hmm.
extreme heat for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
I'm also a NASA Solar System ambassador. And just a couple of hours ago, I had my first exposure to Globe on another webinar.
Great.
Um, so I'm a newcomer.
Excellent. We'll give you a little bit more information about how to join. Adrian, do you want to say hi? You don't have to if you don't want to, but
Sure, no worries. Hello, I'm Adrian. I'm a solar system ambassador as well, and I was also on that same Globe that Dan was on as well. Doubling up on Globe, and I think I signed up for this twice, but there's only one of me here. So I haven't used the Globe protocols, but I have mentioned Globe as a NASA resource. I've shared NASA resources with people. In fact, I was doing that recently, talking about the moon trees challenge. I was discussing to Artemis moon trees seed. Oh, I was glad to see Globe's doing something with moon trees.
that's been a lot of fun for us. And I'm glad you're sharing it. Thank you.
Sure.
And I didn't catch where you're calling from. I'm sorry if you said it.
That's okay. I think I didn't. I'm in Indianapolis.
Okay. Well, welcome.
I'm not sure what it's hot, but not as hot as where John is.
Right. Margaret, do you want to say hi?
Sure. I'm Margaret and Peggy both. I'm from Roswell, New Mexico. I was trying to, I don't want to show my face, but this shows me in Australia, which is kind of cool.
Awesome.
But anyway, yeah, I was trying to come up with a good background. Um, I can only be on until 6:30 because I have the Roswell Astronomy Club meeting at 7. And being in Roswell, I'm Mountain Time, so.
Yes. I'm in Albuquerque, so I hear
Oh,
you.
you understand.
I
Okay.
do. We'll be wrapping up at 6:30 anyway. So,
Okay, cool.
yeah. And Ian.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Ian McKenzie. I'm the country coordinator and I'm in Nassau, Bahamas. And it is hot here as well, not as hot as in New Orleans, but yeah, we got some beach, sea breeze kind of thing going on. So not much, but it's hot and humid and uncomfortable, but nonetheless, it's pleasantly sunny. Globe. Boy, it's been a huge part of my life over the past like 5 years thereabouts. And I'm actually in preparation for a virtual workshop on mosquito training. So this Observer app is gonna help prompt me to get prospective participants in gear uh, to utilize the app and make the most of it, not just for the mosquito protocol, but hopefully for other protocols as well. So I needed a little, stimulation, and I hope this does the trick tonight. So I'm glad to be here, and hopefully this is an exciting experience. I know it's going to be, so I'm not worried about that.
Well, great. Kristen, do you want to say hi?
Sure. Kristen Weaver. I'm the Deputy Coordinator for Globe Observer. I am in Greenbelt, Maryland, just outside of Washington, D.C. And it was definitely pretty humid today, although not as hot as it has been. I think it's I think upper 70s right now. We've had much hotter days, but it did feel a little bit muggy when I left the office earlier.
Cassie.
Hi, I'm Cassie Sofang. I'm the campaign coordinator for Globe Mission Mosquito. So I'm happy to be here also.
And our talented webinar host.
Zoom host, yeah.
We're so grateful for that. So Ian, if you're picking up mosquitoes, Cassie is your person. She's the expert.
Awesome. I mean, this is just a godsend.
Good.
You know, I once heard that the mosquito is the most deadly animal in the whole world. Is that true? As far as number of deaths?
It certainly is. It's upwards to 1 million.
Yeah.
And many more, hundreds of thousands are sickened every year with other things that are, that don't kill them, but make you very, very sick.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Well, thank you for taking a minute to introduce yourselves. This is really informal, but I do want to share a few resources, and I think I'm a visual person, so I find it easier to see them. So let me just go into to our slides. I wanted to share a few updates the Globe has recently made that I think will be really useful to you guys as solar system ambassadors, and Ian certainly as a country coordinator. It's good for you to be aware of. At the moment, these functions are available in the United States. I don't know exactly how Globe will handle this internationally. I think they're just piloting it in the US for now. So when you go to join Globe, you can go to the Globe website, globe.gov, and there's the first tab on their menu is About/Join. And when you get there, you can go to create an account, and you get to see the different types of accounts that you can sign up for Globe. And it used to be that you could be a teacher, you could be a student, and you could be a citizen scientist. And the other categories were, and still are to an extent, gives you access to a community of people. But those were the main categories. But they've added this new category now that I think would be really useful to solar system ambassadors, and it's this informal educator volunteer coordinator category. And this is for any individual who leads programming in any capacity. So if you are leading corporate volunteer efforts, or you are, you're doing programming at a library or community center, or anything like that, this category is for you. So you select that informal educator volunteer coordinator category, and you're going to get to this create an account page. At this point, you have two options. You can become a Globe educator, and they lump all the teachers and the informal educators into this Globe educator category, but just know that that applies to you. And when you so to do that, you're going to be taking the Globe training, which I believe some of you did a little bit earlier today in that webinar with Tracy through the Solar System Ambassadors. So once you take that training, you have access to all of the Globe protocols. Or you can choose to join as a citizen scientist with the Globe Observer app, which is the simplest way to get involved in Globe. So with that, you just have to sign up with an email address, and you can take the in-app training, and that's basically all there is to it. That gives you access to the 4 protocols that are inside the Globe Observer app, which are clouds, mosquito habitat mapper, land cover, so it's on the land around you, and tree height. So I want to show you, there's a chart on that create an account page that tells you what you get for each type of account. And so here's that informal educator account. And what you see is with Globe Observer, you're going to be able to do those observations or make those observations that are inside the Observer, the basic function of the Observer app. And you'll be able to see your data and see other people's data. You'll be able to submit research if that's something you're interested in, create a team, and see your own observations. So those are all things you can do. As an informal educator or a teacher, you will have your own page on Globe for your organization. It will be called an informal education organization. So you can call it, Solar System Ambassador, and then fill in your name or whatever makes sense. If you have a program that you routinely do and you want to set this up for that program, you could set it up that way. So you name your informal education institution. You get your own page for that. So you have a landing page for your organization. And with that, you can create student accounts. These are anonymous accounts people can use to do observations within Globe under your guidance. So if you're working particularly with youth, out of school programming with youth, and you want to be very careful about privacy and anonymity, this is a really great thing for you. Your organization will appear on the Globe website, so anybody can find you. New people coming can see who you are. And you'll be able to collaborate with other people. Because it's on that website, you'll be able to make connections in the Globe community, which is extremely valuable. The Globe community is so supportive, and it's a wonderful community to be a part of. And so this gives you access to all of that. And then you can submit data for all of the Globe protocols, not just the 4 that are inside the app, but Globe has nearly 50 different types of observations you can make using scientific equipment with additional training. And so you have access to all of that. So you can do a wider range of programming if you choose to. So it's really exciting that this opportunity is there for informal educators now, just as of last month. Another thing Globe has done that I find really useful, especially if you're new to Globe, is this new user roadmap system. Globe has a lot of resources, but it's not always easy to navigate through the vast volume of materials and find exactly what you need. And so the Globe program set up this series of roadmaps just to tell you, here are the basic things you should be, or you could be doing for each type of membership. So here's the informal educators one, and it's kind of in this checklist format, which the type of person I am, I love seeing those checklists. So, you for each step, these are the things that you should do, required and optional tasks. And then these things down here are things that you could do if you choose to. You don't have to do all of it, but you have access to those things. And then the last one is an optional task that is completely up to you. So we have these roadmaps. Here's the citizen science roadmap, and there are fewer options on there. They have a little bit less access, that not everything's unlocked because you don't have all the training. But you have a lot of things you could do as a citizen scientist, just registered through the Globe Observer app. And honestly, a lot of the communities you work with are going to be here in this category. The last thing I wanted to highlight on the Globe website is the tutorial center. Like I said, Globe has had a lot of training resources, but they've been in different places. And what they've done with this tutorial center is gather all those electronic resources together in one place and create, a series of not just links, but categories for you to go through and find those resources. So, you're ready to do more Globe than just the app. You want some protocol training. Well, there it is, under protocol training. Or you're a little confused about some of the data entry processes. There's this editorial. So it's really nice that all of this is in one place now. I'm actually going to exit out of here and go to the Globe website and just show you where that is really quick. Do you see, I actually changed windows, so I think I have to change windows here. Give me half a second to do that. And then I'll go back because Kristen has a couple things to share with you for the eclipse, which is super exciting. Here it is. So on the Globe website, these resources are the ones I showed you first are under About, Join, and then you can learn about the program. There's new information there, Ready to Join, and this is where all the account types I showed you, and then the Create an Account page that I showed you are right here. The user roadmaps are under Training, and the Tutorial Center is under Training. And right now I'm not logged in, so I only have access to the public users. Once I log in and they see that, oh, you're a citizen scientist, I'll see the citizen science roadmap. And if you're already Globe trained as an informal educator, then you'll see the options for informal educators as well. So let me go back, and I wanted to show you a couple other resources that that we have on the Observer site that I think you will find really valuable. Let me go back to the, as solar system ambassadors and country coordinator. On the Globe Observer site, observer.globe.gov, we have this toolkit for informal educators, and it's to give you material to help you go out and do your community events. And Kristen, I'm going to hand this off to you because Kristen did a lot of this work, so she can explain it better than I can.
Well, so yeah, there's the toolkit has some general information, but one of the new things that we're trying to roll out more of is sort of audience-specific guides. So we have a pre-existing one that's for Girl Scouts that talks about how to use the 4 Globe Observer tools that doesn't include Eclipse, because that's such a temporary one, but that kind of specifically for Girl Scout audiences and kind of tying into some of the things that Girl Scouts do. That one exists already. And then this library guide is one that's sort of new and in progress that you see on the left side there. And you can, it has suggestions for specifically how you might adapt using the Globe Observer app with specifically library audiences. We're also working on one for camps that should be coming out in the next few months. I think that again is not, some overlap certainly between these, but trying to get some audience specific ideas, things that might help you use it in those specific settings. And there is actually a 4-H one that's specifically clouds. That's a little bit older, so we just have clouds. So those are all in the toolkit for informal educators, as is some things specifically for Eclipse. The screenshot on the right there is from a presentation that you can use if you're talking to groups about preparing for the eclipse. It has sort of a background of how you can use the Globe Eclipse tool to measure air temperature and observe clouds, as well as sort of, and how that works in the app, as well as some other ways you can observe and take observations during the eclipse. And it's there as a PDF, as a PowerPoint, as a Google Slides that you can make a copy of, so you can modify that, take the slides out, the bits and pieces that are useful to you. We have plans to do more of those. There will be one that's more focused on the science. Again, we're talking about the earth science aspects of it. We have right now a 1-pager about some things you might see during the eclipse in terms of clouds and wind and air temperature. And we're constantly adding new resources as we develop them. And then we're also translating many of them. So the atmosphere 1-pager is already in English and Spanish. This presentation here, the Globe Eclipse Preparing for 2023 and 2024, will be translated into Spanish, but we don't have that done quite yet. So that's all under this. If you go to the Globe Observer website, observer.globe.gov, and then lead a program, and the guides are under there, and then it's separated out by toolkit. I think Holly's gonna show us there. So under the lead a program menu, where you'll find some of these. So there's the eclipse, and then the guides. You can also get to the eclipse information there. Though I thought I had changed out that graphic. I thought I'd put the new graphic on that page, which is interesting because I noticed that earlier today. And then under Do Globe Observer, also there's more Eclipse resources more focused on specific, like how to do observations and sort of the mechanics for an individual observer. So Margaret, it mentions the annular solar eclipse. We in that particular presentation, it's more focused on how to use the Globe Observer app and the eclipse tool. So it doesn't focus on what an annular eclipse is. However, there are resources that NASA has created that talk a lot more about the annular solar eclipse itself. And I've got at least a fact sheet that's under the resources, I think under the Do Globe Observer resources. And actually, I intend to, there are slides that are available that the NASA Heliophysics Education Activation team has put together that I keep meaning to add to that toolkit. So I will get that. So there are NASA resources that talk more specifically about what is an annular eclipse? Why is it different than a total eclipse and all those sorts of things? We didn't duplicate that. We just focused on sort of the special thing that you're able to do with Globe Observer and the eclipse tool, which is make observations of these atmospheric changes, specifically temperature, air temperature, and clouds. And then there are opportunities, as Holly was showing us, if you go through some of the training, there's a lot more opportunities. If you have a weather station you want to set up and actually measure relative humidity or barometric pressure or other atmospheric conditions, you can do that with the Globe program. You just have to go through the extra training with just the app and a separate thermometer. Let's see if I can, let's see if I put it in front of my face. Thermometer of some sort. You can measure air temperature, and then the clouds tool that's always in there to see if you see any changes in the clouds. Yeah. So any other questions? I can find, let me find that link and I can put it in the chat, Margaret, since it's not on the page, but I can find the link for that, for the NASA created more comprehensive. It's actually very comprehensive, this slide set. So if you're using it, you don't necessarily want to use all of it. I think, but it is quite comprehensive.
And if any of you are interested, our colleague Dorian Janney has an Eclipse Educators group that she shares a lot of these resources with, the Earth Science resources. It came out of partnership with Texas Master Naturalists, and so everybody in there is Texas folks. But I'm sure if you wanted to join that, she would be happy to host you. So if you're interested, let us know, and I can get you in touch with her to add you to her group. Okay, yeah, so Margaret, if you want to, here, just put my email in the chat.
So Margaret, that OregonStraight.Qualtrics link, even though that is the right link, it's what they want to know a little bit more about how people are using these resources ideally in these NASA presentations. So there is a short survey and then it'll take you to the resources. But the Oregon State is doing some evaluation for the NASA HEAT team, the NASA Heliophysics Education Activation team. So that's why it goes to this little survey, just a few questions about how you might use the slides, and then it'll take you to the actual slides.
There was a question in the chat about access to the training on the Globe website, whether you needed an account or not. And I answered it incorrectly the first time. So I just went and double checked. I logged in with my Citizen Science account, which gives me the lowest level of access, and I can access them, but they are not available if you are not logged in. I think they just want to see if you've completed the training and that you have an account before they give you access to it. Go ahead.
Was Adrian referring to the training or the tutorials? Because I don't think you need, I think just the tutorials page, those I think you can see without an account. It's the e-training, I think you can see the slides, but you can't take the little quiz. Yeah, the tutorials page, I think those.
So when I clicked on protocol training from the tutorial center, the new tutorial center, it said there's nothing available for you until I logged in. Okay. Some of the others, the other tabs, I haven't explored them as much as I would like to. Just they're brand new, and so I haven't had a lot of time to go play with them. But I think a lot of those are available without an account. because they're, basic things about like how to use the website.
Yeah, so most of the ones that I was clicking on, and there's some information about protocol training that seems to be accessible on this one that oh no, although is that, oh, maybe I was on the one that was, I thought I'd switched to the one that was, I think the website tutorials and those, I think those are available without being logged in at all.
Right. So some are, but not the
yeah,
protocol ones.
not the protocol ones. But it's the same account. So if you've already created an observer account, whether you've created it previously or you create a new one, just the basic account will get you access to the protocol slides and everything, training slides. But
I have a question. Is the system set up to accept only individual temperature measurements, sort of like point data, or can it handle like a continuous stream of data?
so the Eclipse tool in the app is set up to get individual data, one observation at a time, because it's intended to be for people who have some kind of thermometer that they're manually reading the display and then entering the data, or like where, I don't know where, or like just your very simple thermometer. That's what's in the Eclipse tool in the app. However, Globe can take that, like you can set up and connect a weather station to it and have it send in the data. And there's actually some other ways to send in data that is more of a whole collection of data. So it depends on what system you're using. For the Eclipse tool, our goal was to make it very simple, and for people who just kind of want to do the basic thing, they want to take the app, go through, do the little bit of training that's required, grab their thermometer, and then take measurements in a fairly manual way on the day of the eclipse.
Right.
And that's what the Eclipse tool is about. But Globe has a lot of other resources for more extensive temperature data over a longer period of time.
Yeah, I have this little small data recorder that can measure temperature. You just plug it into a USB, and it's about the size of a matchbox. We use them inside of observatories to record the conditions from day to night. And I was planning to use that at my Eclipse event and just let it run for 2 or 3 hours or however long it is.
Cool.
So I would have continuous temperature data through the whole eclipse, or well, through whatever portion of it I was reporting.
Right. So I think for that, actually, there is an email data entry that's probably the easiest to do with that. I actually had some people from the 2017 eclipse just send me their files. And I set up the site for them and sent it in through the email data entry. If you want to go through the training yourself, I can certainly help you do that. But I'm also, that for day of the eclipse, yes, we absolutely will take that. It depends on how into it you want to get. Do you want to get into the nitty-gritty of how to do it yourself? But I'm also quite happy to have you just email me the data and I can send it into the database for you.
I may just send it to you.
Yeah, that's just fine. I'm not something I'm going to offer all the time, but on the day of the eclipse, I will happily do that for people.
Right. Okay.
All I would need is to make sure that, like, presumably your data file has like timestamps and the temperatures. Then the other information I need is just like the latitude and longitude where you were taking, like where you were taking the observations. But feel free to email me. And if you ever forget my email, if you go to the contact us on the observer.globe.gov, that comes to both me and Holly, that contact us form. So
let me find that. Here it is.
Thank you.
It's right here on the About Contact Us. I know it's a web form, and web forms are scary because they're black holes most of the time, but this one is not. It comes to several people on our team, and so it's probably the best way to contact us because if I'm out or Kristen is out, somebody else will see it and be able to respond more quickly.
Okay.
And Adrian, are you familiar with Earth to Sky? Because Earth to Sky it's a collaboration between NASA and the National Park Service and the National Fish and Wildlife Service, and they have been doing a series of eclipse webinars specifically focused on interpreter audiences. So making connections to like universal concepts and things that are more interpretive concepts. So yeah, it sounds like you maybe have already found it, but there's specifically the Eclipse page. And I did a short presentation for them about how to use Globe Eclipse, but they have had a whole series of very interesting short talks on Eclipse related interpretation.
They're fantastic. All right, we're at 8:30. I'm willing to stick around if there are more questions. Yes, there are so many NASA resources. And feel free to reach out if you want to describe your situation and need some help navigating all those resources. We're both fairly familiar with what's out there, and if not, we know who to talk to. So we're happy to help you navigate if you need any support there.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I actually was part of a conference the last couple of days with the National Association of Education, and I'm a certified interpreter guide with that group, and the presentation was on NASA and nature. And while I did mention the moon trees, and I had information about Globe generally and the Globe elementary the storybooks, some of the ones you mentioned just this evening, I was not aware of. So just always a reminder to me. Another question I have, because I like to make sure other people know what NASA has to offer. I'm curious about how people are maybe using some Globe materials that you work with that are not necessarily reporting it as far as the data, but they're using tools like in that webinar that was earlier today, where they were talking about the cloud chart and the colors. I could see how that would be very helpful to work with master naturalists and share that information with them, or share that with Friends of Parks groups, but it's not the same as them logging in and then becoming citizen science. But it could be an entry for them to realize those materials are there and those options exist. So I wonder if you have people that are using selected parts of the Globe data program that way.
Yeah. I think that's the beauty of Globe, is that while it's set up for you to go take the observations or go access other people's observations or do both and do research, you can be as involved or as involved as you want to be, and you can adapt it for your circumstances. So the example that comes to mind immediately, and there are hundreds of them, but the example that comes to my mind immediately is I visited a school in Santa Fe. It was the Santa Fe Indian School, and all their students are Native, and there's a lot of sensitivity about sharing some of the data collected on their land with this big open database. And so they were using the Globe protocols to talk about some of their cultural practices with fire and soil moisture and crops. And they were using the Globe protocols to kind of investigate the impact of fire on the soil. And they weren't sharing that data back out. They were just doing it for themselves. But they were using the structure of Globe to enable that investigation. So I think that's a nice example of kind of what you're talking about. The resources are there in that informal educator guide. So you can go just take the resources and use them for, whatever. If you want to go do one of those activities that we have, we have a Lego land cover or cloud in the bottle, and some of the printed products that you were talking about, they're all very popular. I've done those at public events where people aren't necessarily going to be going to do the protocol. You might get a handful of people who really get into it and go download the app and start doing citizen science, but you engage them in the science and the concepts that we're trying to communicate. And I think that's a step forward. So anyway.
And another example, that I have done numerous times is with surface temperature. That is not one that's part of the observer tools, but is one that is, you send people out with infrared thermometers and say, hey, go find a grassy area or a piece of pavement and measure that and compare the differences. You can talk about the clouds, have them do a clouds observation or just look at a cloud chart. I've done it at some events where we record the temperature over the course of the day so that they can see the changes in temperature on a grassy area versus like a paved area. And I'm not putting that data into Globe, but it is using the same protocol that would be used for Globe, but it can be pretty engaging, and people, we were talking about temperatures earlier at the very beginning. That can definitely engage people in thinking about urban heat island effect and all those sorts of things. And it's using the basic premise of the Globe protocol, but it's not actually reporting the data. And I'm not doing the 9 measurements that you're supposed to do technically and average them for a Globe protocol. I'm saying, hey, maybe do 2 or 3 and average them, like, because you maybe get people for 5 or 10 minutes and then they're off to the next thing.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was asking. Well, education might be a one and done. Yet we have the opportunity to follow up and do a full program of everything that you're providing, but being able to use high quality vetted tools is very good. And again, in that webinar that was earlier today, one of the main points that was made was the idea of helping learners learn to be scientific observers as opposed to maybe casual observers might be the alternative. And so anything that will help people develop, and I think of that at any age really, to be developing their scientific identity and scientific literacy, it's going to be helpful and make them feel like they've had a positive experience. So then if they are given the opportunity or interested in being the data collectors and being the citizen scientists, then they can feel like, yes, I had a really positive experience identifying those clouds or using the IR thermometer or any of those things. So that's really helpful to hear the specific examples of how you've been able to do that.
Well, we would love to know if you use our toolkit or Informal Educator Toolkit to access some of those activities or to bring Globe to your events. We'd love to know how it goes and if there are gaps that we can fill in our toolkit. If you find that these activities are great, but I really need a little more structure, or I need something calling out good tabling activities or whatever the suggestion is, we are quite open to it.
When Kristen mentioned heat islands, it also made me think one of the other resources that I provided at the conference was Earth observation kits. So I don't know if Globe is coordinated with NASA Earth Observatory in that way, because they have their own lesson plans on heat islands, wildfires, and a number of different topics that are in the news, every day now.
We have some of them on our toolkit list, but not all of them. So if there's one in particular that you find useful and connected to one of our topics, that would be, we would be happy to add it.
Okay, that's great, because I'm thinking about that sort of cookbook approach that is sometimes used where you can list 3 or 5 or however many resources that are available on a particular topic and at different grade levels, because Globe itself, I know, can be for elementary students, it can be for older students, it can be lifelong learners. So it's always helpful as an informal educator to be able to provide that 3 ideas or 10 resources or type of list. And it helps me also have ways to share this out again, to provide this information to naturalists and others, writing articles about Globe and being able to sort of report out to others hey, here's a program you may not be aware of Globe. I didn't know until tonight that you so that'll definitely be something I can share out with other people as well.
Well, thank you. That's exciting. Yeah, and let us know if there's anything we can help you with as you start to look at resources and decide how to share.
And are you doing anything in particular with climate? And that's a big topic, so I don't even know how to narrow that down, but you're gathering Earth system data. Do you have lessons that you would call climate lessons?
That's a really good question, and Globe may have some. I believe so. Kristen, you look like you're about to say something.
Yeah, well, so I think there are, so actually, although I didn't go to the session at the Globe annual meeting, I think actually the data and information systems lead actually had a session about how to use Globe data to study climate and how to access some of the older data to show changes in climate. Now that was just I don't know that he's written that up anywhere. I think there may be some activities that the University Center for Atmospheric Research, UCAR, which is sort of the umbrella organization that has the contract for the Globe Implementation Office. I think they have some education lessons that do focus on using Globe data to talk about climate. So yes, there is some, I think in the sense that if you go back through 25 years of data, of Globe data, you can get some information, you can make some inferences about climate changes, but even 25 years of data is not really enough for some climate studies. So there's only so much you can do with actual Globe data because it just doesn't, it only goes back to 1995. It doesn't really go back far enough to see all of that. So I think there are some other NASA resources that I think utilize some older data sets and some other things that are actually perhaps going to be a better showcase of climate just because they have a longer history, they go back further.
Okay, so you'd say that Globe isn't necessarily the best resource if you're looking at a climate topic, but if you're looking at science skills and science literacy, that's kind of where the Globe project fits.
And there is an elementary Globe book about climate. I think it's more that there are education resources, but it depends on if you want education resources about climate or if you actually want data about climate. And I think that's the distinction. Now, the Earth to Sky program that I mentioned earlier, they actually have I think they have some resources specifically focused on talking about climate with NASA data. I think it's just a limitation of the time frame that the Globe data exists for can give you some about climate, but not everything you might want.
But what you can do with Globe, sorry, I'll let you go ahead and then I'll.
Oh, no, that's okay. I was just going to say, I think regardless of what you're presenting about, you know, I might be doing a presentation about the moon, but I may get a question in the Q&A from someone about climate because it's a topic that have you know, greater awareness. So I think it's good to be able to point people to, again, like 3 resources or 1 resource or 10 resources.
Yes. And I would go probably to the climate.nasa.gov. Earth Observatory has some good resources, as you know. I just put some lesson plans on climate from my NASA data in the chat. So those are all good resources. But what you can do with Globe, and this I have seen and experienced, is when people start to observe their natural environment for themselves, and you go outside and you take your cloud observation every day, you start to notice the environment in new ways and pay attention to things. So you might not be seeing climate trends, but you're keyed in to those things. And then there are supporting resources to talk about, here's why cloud's changing, here's why it matters, and here's how that connects to the bigger picture of climate change. So I think it's a nice tool to get people experiencing their environment. And there's been some research on perceptions of climate change and what it's showing is that when people feel like they've experienced something related to climate change, they're willing to accept the science, they're willing to listen to what you're teaching them about it because they have that experience to relate to. And whether that's something they get through Globe or just living through the summer heat wave or a natural disaster that was exacerbated by climate change, those experiences are really critical to getting to climate education and getting people to open their minds and think about it. So Globe is extremely valuable for that because it gives people a personal connection to the environment through their own data observations.
Yeah, and I appreciate that because I think it also helps that it's facilitating those relationships without actually putting it in the context of climate, because we're discussing it. So in a way that might make it easier to have the conversation, because you're talking about temperature, you're talking about clouds, you're not discussing scary things, you're just having a positive experience, and then you can talk about other topics out of that. So again, you're building the science literacy and the ways to communicate about it. So that's very powerful. Definitely being someone in the Midwest, we weren't affected by wildfires as much as we've been this year, and I check airnow.gov often because of where I'm located, and you really don't want to be outside when it's in the purple zone or the red zone or anything like that. But it does create also a teachable moment. It does create an opportunity to build other awarenesses. So that's really great.
Absolutely. That was the topic of our last Globe Observer Connect in July.
Air quality, which will be up on the website pretty soon. I have that almost edited. That's almost ready to go. But I didn't even know there was a maroon on the scale of terrible air quality.
Yeah, and it's cool that I don't have to post them. It's good that these are people saying that they check it also, or they get a notice so it shows up in their email or something. So and the NASA has the new Earth Information System at Earth Information Center, so that's another tool that I hope gets more widely known about.
Yes,
the coming months.
That is brand new. I would love to get the Globe data in there, but that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, it sounds like there are so many platforms that you don't want to dilute your project by spreading yourself too thin. So it helps me to know where the overlap is between these, and as an educator, what's for teaching about different topics and interacting with different communities, and the broader the toolbox that I and the other solar system events have, the better we can then serve our communities. And that's the whole point of our organization, serve our communities. But thank you for answering questions tonight. And it's really great to be part of this.
Pleasure. Anyone have any other questions?
Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Well, think of anything else later. You can go to the About and the contact us on our website. We've both put our email addresses in the chat. We are more than happy to have a one-on-one conversation with you if you start exploring resources and you realize that you got a little lost and just want to talk to somebody.
Thanks a lot. Enjoyed it.
Good.
Take care.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everybody.
Night.